So, oh, by the way, when you were introducing everybody from around the world, I noticed you didn't mention anyone from Antarctica, so I just wanted to share a little visitor that
Antarctica.
we have with us today.
Oh, how could I forget that? I did my geography. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Antarctica it is. Okay.
Just letting everyone know for sure that I am never going to take myself too seriously, so
Uh,
just hang on.
Antarctica and
Okay.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am compelled to open with a confession here this morning, though, because there's nothing unique or revolutionary about the subject of this morning's lesson. The subject has been widely explored and expressed upon. In fact, when the scales fell from my eyes and I recognized the reality, I was embarrassed by how long I have lived without seeing it so clearly. So much so that when I allowed myself to embrace it, this lesson almost wrote itself. That requires a small detour to provide some background, the tableau within which this revelation has occurred. Now, Ernest Holmes has written that life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. Some of you know I retired from full time employment nearly 6 years ago and quickly grew bored and rejoined the workforce doing part time what I'd been doing 24/7 for 20 years prior. Many of you have heard me speak of how fleeting technology is, how rapidly it has advanced and become obsolete in our living memory. Part of my revelation is that had I remained retired, it is likely that my interest in or employment of advancing technology would have frozen at that state of separation. The cutting edge tools I utilized routinely would obsolete unnoticed, relegated to memory and museum shelves. My peers and mentors in ministry, however, have been sharing thoughts about using artificial intelligence for a couple of years now, and I've been pretty vocal about foregoing its influence in the interest of keeping my own intellect sharp. One layer of my recent enlightenment, however, is seeing it was my ego that wanted any impression of my skills as a writer and orator to be untarnished by allowing the impression that anyone other than myself had any input into my offerings. The unvarnished reality being that everything I bring to the table here is simply my interpretation of the common consciousness, whose contributors include every thought, idea, or word expressed from the beginning of time through the present. By keeping myself actively connected to the workforce, my toe in the water as it were, I've been forced to embrace advances I probably would have otherwise ignored. Today, you are the recipients of my expanding horizon. Knowledge that I was blind to is now at my fingertips and available for me to share with you. As I gaze into the mirror, it is not just my face looking back, but everything behind it as well. You see, in life, we are taught to prepare for adversity. We are told adversity lurks everywhere and can strike at any moment from any direction. We train to be alert for adversity. We train to react without thinking and to always protect ourselves. We are told that's the way it is because that's the way it has always been. Well, motivation too is all around us. We can never know when it will strike or from what direction. Our responsibility is to be alert for it, to train ourselves to recognize and embrace motivation regardless of how or when it reveals itself. A current auto advertisement caught my attention the other day, and it makes the statement, "What if not what was. That part of my brain where spiritual enlightenment resides lit up with recognition of the message being revealed. You see, I see people on the street who sometimes make my heart feel sad. And it occurred to me, what if, instead of feeling sad and concerned that there's nothing I can do to help them, that I feel happy and thankful for all the prosperity that I enjoy. See, Ernest Holmes wrote, there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. He reminded us the boundaries we accept as established fact are self-imposed and only a fraction of the field of possibility. What if, instead of being bogged down in despair and depression by events unfolding around us, we celebrate the power of love being expressed by millions we will never know? John Pavlovitz is an author and a former youth pastor, wrote, remember, the truth is, dear friend, there are far more people in this place working for equality, diversity, love, and justice than opposing them. And it isn't even close, he says. He goes on, there are hundreds of millions of people in this world who, just like you, wake up every day trying to be the kind of person the world needs, lavish with compassion, overflowing with generosity, relentless with love. You are, even when you are not aware of it, surrounded on all sides by like-hearted people who are not okay with the suffering around them. A further quote from Winston Churchill that Americans can be counted on to do the right thing after every other possibility has been exhausted strikes such a familiar chord because it is true of all peoples eventually. When fear, anger, hatred, and desperation seem to be holding all the cards, the truth remains that the universe owns the printing press and the ability to produce more cards in unlimited supply. The squeaky wheel, the sore thumb, or blistered toe always draws unwarranted share of attention. But those are just symptoms warning us to be more observant and to make adjustments before our misdirected beliefs become our reality. Howard Zinn, an American historian, wrote, you can't be neutral on a moving train, reminding us the history we write for ourselves is molded by our choices leading up to this point. What if we had said yes to that opportunity or no to some other? How would our story be different today? How would that affect the next choice we make? We choose to believe what we choose to believe fuels Spirit's next creation. We are responsible to know that and conduct ourselves accordingly. Austrian philosophical writer Robert Musil wrote, if there is a sense of reality, there must also be a sense of possibility. The reality we experience is just one of many possibilities. Our imagination, along with our ingrained beliefs, lends form to an infinity of possible outcomes. What if we focus on the gifts unfolding before us instead of accepting challenges as inevitable? Spirit is at our command. Holmes writes, we are surrounded by a creative mind which receives the imprint of our thought and returns to us what we think. You see, when we allow appearances to dictate our belief, we are abnegating our responsibility to dictate appearances from our beliefs. This basic tenet of religious science is core to how we differ from most traditional teachings. We are never victims of a good versus evil duality. We are in control. Not too bright sometimes, but in control of our experience through our belief. We too often trap ourselves in some misdirected idea formed from the cacophony of common consciousness we subscribe to, truths, real or not, that we accept without question, the table we set, the bed we have made for ourselves. Danish theologian and philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward." The tangled web we weave in life is impossible to recognize when we are stuck in the middle of it. Unraveling it can have value. There are 1,000 avenues to explore toward that end, but most importantly, we must always keep our eye on the prize. Our target is what comes next. Our past may be fodder for an interesting memoir, but no one will read it unless our life going forward provides inspiration and reward. Continuing to court failure and despair by believing that is our fate will leave pages unturned in a dusty, forgotten tome. E.H. Carr, journalist and international relations theorist, wrote, "History is an unending dialogue between the present and the past. This supports the idea that even what was is shaped by present imagination and perspective. When we delve into the journey of exploring our past, we risk discovering that solidly ingrained beliefs are simply artifacts of past assumptions. Social norms of the times past supported all manner of acceptances that do not pass muster today." Holmes said it this way: "Principle is not bound by precedent." You see, how people are treated due to their gender, religion, or skin color has shifted dramatically in my lifetime and yours as well, I'm sure you recognize. Not everyone has gotten the memo, but what if we who have just soldier on, treating people with love and respect without energizing thoughts of changing what was, blaming others, and retribution? Imagine spirit's efficiency when it has only one direction, its natural direction of love and creation, without at the same time having to create for us fear and division because it has no choice in the matter and must do our hypocritical bidding without judgment. American novelist Toni Morrison says, "If there's a book that you want to read and it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it." What if we focus spirit on creating the future we want, not as an extension of the past, but as a replacement for the past? A fresh page, blank canvas, an empty vessel waiting to be filled with new imaginings, untethered to preconceptions or current illusions. What if, not what was. After all, as Nigerian novelist, and forgive me for butchering this name, Chinua Achebe wrote, "Until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter." We can never have more than a supporting role in a story written by someone else. Take pen in hand and make it yours. American science fiction writer Philip K. Dick wrote, "Reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away." alternative facts and fake news don't change reality. Spiritual principle does not change with the times. It is not subject to the whims of fashion nor thirsty for likes or views. Spiritual principles are the sunshine behind the clouds, sometimes out of sight, but always there. American science fiction writer Octavia Butler said, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you." Holmes wrote it this way: change your thinking, change your life. Both reframe history, personal or collective, as revisible at the level of interpretation and expectation. Even the Bible in 2 Corinthians 5:17, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come." But to put it in earthly terms, it is best summed up by General Ulysses S. Grant when he assumed command of the Union Army in the U.S. Civil War and spoke to his assembled officers who had been soundly beaten time and time again by Confederate General Robert E. Lee. A factual reality of that tragedy was that the Union embodied spirit in that its resources were inexhaustible compared to the finite resources held by the Confederacy. So Grant told his browbeaten officers, "Start thinking in terms of what we are going to do to Lee, not how we react to what Lee might do to us. What if, not what was." Thank you.